What is good, peasants? My name is JB, back here today with another mock draft, and today we're going to be throwing at least one trade in there just to make things up a little bit. And also worth noting, this is post the Eagles and Saints trade, so yeah, things are getting a little bit interesting. We're getting a little bit closer to the draft. We're starting to more about what certain teams are targeting and what might happen, and it's it's just draft season, boys. It's just draft season. We're in the thick of it now, and it's one of the best times of the year for sports fans. So without further ado, let's just go ahead and hop right on in. At number one, I do think the Jaguars still end up going edge. We're not going to play with the thought that Trayvon Walker might go number one this time around. We're instead going to take the safe pick, the odds-on favorite, that being Aiden Hutchinson at number one. He's just, I think, the best all-around edge rusher in the class. Like, you don't have any questions with him. He's going to come in, he's going to be a good locker room player presence. He's not going to step on any toes. He's going to come in and be a hell of an impact day one, and starting him alongside Josh Allen, can't really go wrong with that. I think he's the safest pick in terms of the edge guys. So yeah, the most sure thing, the most pro-ready guy. I think it's a no-brainer there. Now, number two, man, this is just a weird spot, because I do think they end up going edge. It's between Kayvon and Trayvon, man, but I do think Dan Campbell wants the harder working guys, and there is some character concerns with KT, whether or not they're warranted or not, that remains to be seen. So I do think Trayvon Walker still ends up going top two. We're just going to switch around the order this time around, and we're going to go with Trayvon Walker at two. At number three, this is where things start to get a little bit interesting. The NFL seems very high on this player. He was a freak in college, and he had a damn good combine to back it all up. Sauce Gardner at number three to the Houston Texans. So yeah, he's just, I think, the best corner in the draft. Although I think a certain other guy who just came back healthy at his pro day might be jumping up some boards a little bit too. We'll get to him in just a minute, but yeah, I think Sauce is still the first corner off the board. Did not allow a touchdown in college. That's crazy. That's crazy. And he's a hell of an athlete, great size as well. I think Sauce at number three might feel a little bit early to some people, but the NFL seems super high on the kid. So we're gonna go with Sauce at number three. At number four, so the Jets brought in both Ohio State guys for workouts. They seem really high on both Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave. So I think they end up going receiver, because there's no way Garrett Wilson gets past the Falcons if he makes it there. So I don't think they're gonna have the opportunity to take him at 10. And without that, safety net, I think they go ahead and just grab the guy that they're most in love with in the class. And that feels to me at the moment like it is going to be Garrett Wilson at number four. Might be a little bit early again for some people, but the team seems really high on him, and there's no chance to get him at 10. So take him at 4. Make sure you get your guy. At number 5 now, again, this seems like a pretty much no-brainer. It's between one of the two tackles, Evan Neal or Ike Ekwonu. Who's your favorite guy? I think the NFL is, again, higher on Ike, so we're going to be going with Ike for the Giants at number 5. Can't really go wrong with either guy. I'm personally a little bit higher on Neal. I think he's a more surefire tackle. Like, he is, the more pro-ready, pure tackle of the two. Ekwonu has that flexibility that he can play guard, that he can play more in that wide zone scheme and just do more things potentially. Evan Neal seems more like the day one guy, but can't really go wrong with either guy. We're gonna go with Ike just because it seems like the NFL's slightly higher on him for whatever reason it might be. You can't go wrong with either guy. I think they're both easy top 5 to 10 prospects. All right, again, Panthers fan here. If more and more, it feels like every day that Kenny Pickett is going to be the guy. Again, I don't want him to be the guy. I would much rather take a shot on, especially Evan Neal if he gets it. Like, if Evan Neal gets a 6, we take Evan Neal 10 times out of 10. That's who I would take. Same thing with Ike. If either guy gets there, you take either guy. But it just feels more and more by the day that Kenny Pickett is going to be the guy at 6. From everything I'm hearing, we just go with Kenny Pickett at 6. Unfortunately, I don't want it, but it seems like it's going to happen. All right, now let's go ahead and talk about the guy who just came back from his ankle injury and looked like an absolute beast at his pro day, Mr. Derek Stingley Jr. People were worried about the injury. Seems to be back healthy. Seems to be back looking like a force on the field. Seems good to go. If he plays anything like he did his freshman year, he's a top 5 player in this class easily. So I think the Giants, who are looking to trade Garrett Bradbury so they can clear up a lot of cap, who they're going to need to get rid of to sign most of the rookies. So think, it's any day now that Garrett Bradbury is either cut or traded. Replace him with Derek Stingley. Makes a ton of sense, especially if he's healthy and good to go, which it sounds like he is. So we take Derek Stingley at number 7 for the Giants, who pass on edge for now. It is a really deep edge class, so we'll get to that a little bit later. All right, the Falcons. So looking at Evan Neal on the board, he's obviously the best value, but they don't really need a tackle. I would personally take him if I were them. Same thing with KT. I would probably take KT, but the coaching staff really seems to want a big-bodied, do-it-all receiver, especially a run-after-the-catch guy, the guy who can just make plays, and that is what Drake London is. The coaching staff seems to want that specific archetype of receiver. It seems like they really just want Drake London as a prospect, so we're going to be going with Drake London at number 8. And the Seahawks are just in heaven right now with both Evan Neal and KT sitting on the board. They're probably not as high on KT. He doesn't seem like the, type of, personality fit for Seattle. Could be though. I mean, he obviously, close to the area, with this college close to the area. But I think with Evan Neal on the board, you can't pass on the potential best player in the class at number 9. All right, so we're going to go ahead and take Evan Neal at number 9 for the Seahawks. And this is where we're going to be executing our trade. So unfortunately, it's exclusive for premium members. So we're just going to have to, do a little bit of imagination here. Don't get it twisted. This is not where I'm not picking for the Jets with this pick. Instead, we're going to be picking for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So the trade I came up with is basically just a mirror image of the Giants Bears trade from last draft, where the Bears traded their first, a 4th, and the next year's 1st and 4th to move up from 20 to 11. So they're trading up one more spot, maybe throw in like an extra 6th or 7th or whatever. I think it's basically the same value. So you just trade up 10 spots to go ahead and grab their guy. Again, picking for the Steelers. The Steelers are trading up here. This is not the Jets pick. I hopefully threw a graphic up on the screen so you guys can, be perfectly clear. This is the Steelers picking. They've been connected to the kid all offseason. Mike Tomlin met with his family. That's a pretty big indicator. And I think the Steelers might be in pretty good position to trade up for Malik Willis. So that's what we're going to do. Again, Steelers are making this pick. I don't have premium. Your boy don't have $10 right now to pay for this, for a video that's going to get like 50 views, maybe. Which, by the way, thank you for 80 views on the first one. That's crazy. Yeah, this is the Steelers. This is the Steelers taking Malik Willis, not the Jets. This is the Steelers. The Steelers are taking Malik Willis. All right. So, but just to talk about this a little bit more before we get into the Commanders pick. Again, that's the Steelers taking Malik Willis. I can't make trades here. The Saints traded back into the first ahead of the Steelers. So I think they thought they would probably have a pretty good shot at getting a quarterback. I think they're really into one of the quarterbacks, but I think if they wanted a shot at Malik Willis dropping to 20 or 19, he could be there for them at 19. So they could get him there, or they could get the guy that they want. I think with their other pick, they're going receiver, and I think they're really into one of the quarterbacks. We'll get to that in a little bit. So I think they basically forced the Steelers' hand by making them trade up, and they could trade up with any of these teams that are willing to deal. But I think the Jets, who have been looking to trade out of this draft or potentially even just get more capital, I think it makes the most sense for them to, be one of the trade partners for the Steelers. So that's why we went ahead and went with the Jets. But I think the Saints, they jumped the Steelers for a reason. They might have their eyes on a quarterback, and with the thought that Malik Willis might drop to them, the Steelers have to be proactive and then jumping back up the board. So that's why we did what we did. So let's go ahead and talk about the next pick, that being the Washington Commanders. This is one of the hardest picks in the draft for me, because obviously with Stingley and Sauce off the board, they don't really want to go. That doesn't really feel like a corner spot for me. They don't seem like a team that needs a receiver. Their interior offensive line is okay. Like Schweitzer is like a decent guard, and then they have Norwell at their other guard spot. So they could look to go guard. Again, it feels just a little bit early for me. Unfortunately, they are the one team in this draft that just does not need edge at all in this range, of course, with Chase Young and Montez Sweat. So KT is a little bit off the table. I would make that pick personally. It's just it really comes down to receiver for me. And again, it doesn't feel like they need the pick. Again, Kyle Hamilton is good value here. They don't really need a safety. He wouldn't really be a great scheme fit there. So I don't think they go Hamilton. They don't need a tackle. So yeah, I mean, I think it just does come down to receiver for me, and I don't feel like they would want to take a shot on an injured guy, Jameson Williams. Again, he probably will be healthy for the start of the season, but this feels like a Chris Olave spot. Him and Terry McLaurin did play a year together at Ohio State, Chris's freshman year, I believe, so they are former teammates. They need that sort of speed on their team. They don't really have that. They don't really have a lot outside of Terry McLaurin at receiver, to be honest. He is a little bit similar to what Curtis Samuel could be if Curtis Samuel was ever healthy, but he's not. So we'll go ahead and grab Chris Olave for the Washington Commanders. Now here at number 12, the Minnesota Vikings are basically just like a kid in a candy shop. There are so many good players here for them to take, but who do they end up going with? It's really an interesting discussion as well. If they didn't sign to Za'Darius Smith, KT or Jermaine Johnson would be an easy fit, but they, have Za'Darius, so I don't think edge is a pressing need. Kyle Hamilton is basically just a younger Harrison Smith, so I don't think that would be a fantastic scheme fit, although he could just be BPA, but they need help on the interior defensive line desperately. So I think you take a shot on a unicorn like Jordan Davis. He's a freak athlete. You look to unlock any pass rush upside he has, and there you go, Jordan Davis at 12. And then at 13, I think, much like my last draft, you feel a lot better about getting KT with a safe spot at 13 than you do at 3, where it's a much bigger problem if he ends up busting out at 3. Where you get him at 13, it's your second first round pick. It's not as big of a deal if he doesn't end up being, this great player. If he doesn't really end up wanting to play football, the character concerns are legit, then you don't feel as bad as you would about taking him at 3. If you're able to get him at 13, it's crazy value for a guy who could be the best player in the class. So KT at 13, it's just too good a value to pass up on. And then the Ravens at 14, they rush Jermaine Johnson to the podium. They need edge help. He's, I think, a top 10 player in the class personally. So yeah, Jermaine Johnson at 14, just insane value, absolutely insane value. So you get him at 14, huge, absolutely huge. So they sprint that card to the podium. And then at number 15, the Philadelphia Eagles. They're a team that's looking probably to go receiver. I don't love the corners at this range. I think Kyle Hamilton, who's, we'll get to Kyle Hamilton in a little bit. He's an interesting thought here. Charles Cross, this team doesn't need tackle. He's going to slip a little bit. Good players fall all the time. So wouldn't be super surprising. Like any of these, consensus top 10 guys like Hamilton or Cross, it wouldn't be shocking to me at all. It happens every year. These guys fall to the 15 to 20 range every year. So don't be shocked when, something like this happens. I'm not saying these guys specifically, but someone out of these, top 10 to 12 guys will fall to this 15 to 20 range. And yeah, it'll happen for sure. So with the Eagles, I think they're probably looking to finally get that deep threat receiver they've been looking for the past few years. Arcega Whiteside, Rager, both didn't work out. I think Jameson Williams is basically them, but more of a sure thing. He's an elite athlete, great hands, fantastic deep threat, good all-around player. I think you go ahead and take Jameson Williams, and they do have a lot of depth at receiver, so it's not like they need him to play immediately. They're not forced to have him be on the field at the start of the season. So if he does, take a couple months to get ready, they're fine with it. Jameson Williams at 15 is good value for the upside. And with all of and also they take him so the Saints can't. I know they just made a trade with the Saints, but he's the best receiver on the board. You pick again in 2 picks. The Saints are another team looking for a receiver. They're not able to get one. So you box them out of that as well as getting their pick next year. So I had just a huge win all around for the Eagles. And then at 16, with Charles Cross on the board, it did lose Teron Armstead. Makes too much sense for the Saints to go ahead and grab Charles Cross, who finally stops his fall. Now, let's go ahead and talk about Kyle Hamilton here. Kyle Hamilton is, suffering a fall a lot like certain Chargers safety, that being Derwin James. So Kyle Hamilton is a great football player, but he's not the best athlete. Derwin James fell because of positional value, and I believe size and injury concerns were a big reason he fell as well, because he was this, crazy good safety prospect, much like Kyle Hamilton was. Kyle Hamilton, is getting as much, if not more, hype than Derwin James did coming out, and Derwin James got a ton of hype coming out. So it's just a little bit weird. Derwin James, when healthy, is one of the best safeties in football, but he's a better athlete than Kyle Hamilton. I'm not trying to compare these guys one to one. I'm just saying why Kyle Hamilton might fall. I'm comparing it to I'm comparing the situation to Derwin James falling in the draft. So Derwin James fell and he ran a 4.47. this is 40 time isn't everything, but just to compare, Derwin James ran a 4.47 at the combine. Kyle Hamilton ran like a 4.56 or 4.59, one of the two at the combine, and then at his pro day he ran a 4.7 allegedly. So that's like a full tenth to a full 0.2 of a second slower than Derwin James. That could be a reason Kyle Hamilton really slips in the draft. So with that being said, what do the Chargers do? They could honestly look to take Kyle. They could. They do need linebacker help. He could play in the box very well. I think he's best uses right out the gate is going to be as a box safety, will linebacker, or money backer more so, dime backer, whatever you want to call it. But I don't, that's a luxury pick. I think they still need help on the defensive line. They have Sebastian Joseph Day. Austin Johnson is whatever. I think with Devontae Wyatt sitting there, the pass rush upside from the interior of the defensive line, just make your line ridiculous. You have Day and Johnson who could both be nose tackles or even 3 to 5 techs. Devontae Wyatt fits in that rotation like a glove. Just make your defensive line absolutely elite. Devontae Wyatt, it's a bit of a luxury pick. There's no receivers on the board that I love. They don't need a tackle per se. Like, it's a decently deep tackle class. Like, you can find a guy on day 2 that can start. Like, I'm also not in love with Trevor Penning, even though I did mock him there last time. But Devontae Wyatt, that's a sexy pick. Make your defensive line elite. Devontae Wyatt to the Chargers. Now, with all that talk about Kyle Hamilton, let me tell you why he's a great fit for the Eagles. They have no one at strong safety. They have a horrible linebacking core. Do I need to say anything else? Also, it is plain and simply best player available. It's kind of a luxury pick, but Marcus Epps, who's a good player, he can be a good third safety for you. 3 safety sets are a thing. So, I mean, I'm all about taking value here of Kyle Hamilton at 18. Falls 1 pick further than Derwin James did at 17. So it's not a huge fall compared to Derwin. Like, it's basically the same fall. So yeah, Kyle Hamilton to the Eagles at 18, I think makes a ton of sense. Just plug him in, just let him do whatever he needs to. He's just a chess piece on defense. Let him roam, let him make plays, let him do his thing. I think at 18, you can't pass up on the value. And then at number 19, the Saints. Like I said, I think they traded up because they're in love with a quarterback. There's no receiver value on the board here. It feels like a reach on Dotson. Safety is another need. Like, you really want to reach on Dax Hill or Lewis Seen. I wouldn't be opposed to it. I think those guys probably go around this range in real life. But, Penning, you just got Cross. You don't need a tackle. Who do you take then? I think they're in love with the quarterback class. I think they're really high on Desmond Ridder personally. He feels like the guy who he's like the perfect sit and wait guy. You get the 5th-year option on him, so you don't have to start him immediately. You can cut Jameis after 2022 if he's bad and you see something in Ridder if you think he's ready to start year 2. Or Jameis is only on a 2-year deal. You can just have Desmond sit for 2. You have him for 5 years. I think it's a great place for Desmond to sit and learn for a couple years. And at the end of the day, quarterbacks go early. You got box out a receiver. Why not take a shot on a guy who you feel like you can coach up and get the most out of? I like it a lot. Now, again, this is the Jets pick. The Jets traded with the Steelers. So we are picking for the New York Jets at this spot. And Jets took Garrett Wilson at 4. So they do still need help at corner. They still need help at edge. They could look for tackle. But with George Karlaftis here, he just feels like a Robert Saleh guy. They have Franklin Myers, who is a lot like, Kyle Hamilton, who's a chess piece on, the back end of a defense. John Franklin Myers is a chess piece on the defensive line. You can play him pretty much anywhere except for nose, and he'll do work. So you just add him to the rotation. You don't know what you're going to get out of Carl Lawson coming off the Achilles. I love Carl Loftus here at 20. Again, we are picking for the Jets. This is the Jets pick. But we don't have $10 to pay for premium to change it. And PFF mock draft thing is trash. So that's yeah. Use your imagination, damn it. I'll flash the graphic back up if I remember. But yeah, this is the Jets picking George Karlaftis. All right, now at 21, the Patriots. This is a tough spot. It could be a corner spot. It could also be a receiver spot. I don't love the receiver value at this point anymore. Although Treylon Burks is interesting, could be a thing. There are some rumors going around that this team is very glued in on one prospect in particular. They traded Shaq Mason for basically nothing because they feel like they had a pretty good shot at getting this guy at 21. I think he's the best guard in the draft. Zion Johnson at 21 to the Patriots just feels like a really solid fit. He's going to slide in, immediately be your day one starter. Boom. Zion Johnson at 21. And then this could not have worked out better for the Packers. Jalen Burks at 22. You go ahead and just grab a receiver. Makes too much sense not to do it. So yeah, easy. Don't really need to explain that one. Burks to the Packers at 22. All right. So the Rude Sandstorm. The Cardinals at 23. It's corner all day for me. It's just the best value on the board at this point. It's just which one of these guys do you like the most? They run mostly man, so I think the best pure man corner out of the guys available is Kaiir Elam. So that's the guy I'm going to be going with here for the Cardinals is Kaiir Elam. And then we get back to the Dallas Cowboys at number 24. Don't love the edge value. They missed out on Devontae Wyatt in this mock, which we had him take last time. Safety is interesting. I love Dax Hill. I love Lewis Seen. Could be an interesting pick. Phil is just a little bit rich, especially when you're starting guards. You have Zach Martin, obviously one of the best guards in football. Connor McGovern is a little bit meh. You're not sure what you have in Terrence Steele. I got you to play with both guard and tackle. Start day one at either position, right tackle that is. That's Kenyon Green in a nutshell. I think he's the perfect fit for the Cowboys at 24. Like I said, you can start at guard or tackle. Has that flexibility, played both in college, so yeah, started either guard spot. I believe he even took snaps at center in the Senior Bowl. Was it him or Zion Johnson? It was one of them. Either way, he has tackle flexibility. He has guard flexibility. I think he's a day one starter. Go ahead and plug him in there. All right. Got the Bills up at 25. Again, it's corner for me. Comes down to Booth or McDuffie. I think McDuffie's just a better scheme fit. Booth ran mostly zone in college, but he is, he does have the man chops as well. Man chops. That's a word I just said. I think McDuffie's just a better overall scheme fit, so we'll go with McDuffie at 25. And then at 26, the Tennessee Titans. They have a hole at right tackle, and Trevor Penning is maybe one of the best scheme fits in the draft for what they're looking for. Just a mauling, mean ass tackle, good in run blocking, good in that power offense. So yeah, Trevor Penning to the Titans at number 26. At number 27, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They lost both of their starting guards in the offseason, one to retirement, one to the Bengals. So I think they look to go guard here. That's defensive line. So I think Tyler Smith is definitely a guy who can sneak into the first round. He does also have tackle flexibility, not that you need him to play it. But yeah, he's a beast, hell of an athlete. And like, he's the best value on the board. Like, I don't think they look to go safety. They did lose Jordan Whitehead, but it's not really, that's more of a luxury pick when you have like a glaring hole at starting guard. I think Tyler Smith is the best, shot at being a day one starter out of anyone in this range. Tyler Linderbaum is center only. They don't need a center, obviously. So we just go with Tyler Smith, the best guard option available. Picking for need rather than it or BPA could be a little bit of a mistake depending on who you ask, but I like the fit, so we'll go with Tyler Smith there. Then for the Packers, this is an interesting one. I don't think they go with one of these super developmental guys. I think they're looking for more win now. So I'm not super in love with Boye Mafe. I don't think they want to wait on David Ojabo. They'd go with Arnold Ebiketie in that case, but I don't really think he's what they're looking for. They need help in the run D. They need help on run D. They have been getting gashed up the middle for years. Kenny Clark is obviously a great player, but he's only one guy. He's a pure nose. So let's go ahead and look at the IDL. I think a guy like Travis Jones could sneak in, but he's also a pure nose tackle. So maybe Perrion Winfrey. He's a good athlete, nothing spectacular, but he does fit their scheme. He could fit very well next to Kenny Clark. Good run defender, great run defender. So put him at a 3 tech, put him at the 5 tech, let him, get after the run, plug up holes, and I think he would be a nice guy to go ahead and slot into the Green Bay Packers. Now, at number 28, we have the Kansas City Chiefs. This isn't a pick I loved or really even wanted to make in my first mock, but having looked into it a little bit more and thought about it a little more, I do think Jahan Dotson does make a pretty good amount of sense here. he is, you know, the closest comparison to Tyreek Hill. Obviously, you're not going to replace Tyreek Hill with anyone in this draft. It's not possible because no one is Tyreek Hill. He is the fastest player maybe in NFL history. So you're not going to replace that kind of speed, but the type of routes that Tyreek Hill runs are very similar to what Jahan Dotson did in college. He's also a, you know, he has maybe the best hands of anyone available at this range. He has huge hands at that too. So he's a great contested catch guy, great deep threat. Just let him run down the field and just moss guys, just do all sorts of, you know, crazy Patrick Mahomes things. Yeah, they need receiver. Take the best receiver on the board, in my opinion, that being Jahan Dotson. Now, let's go ahead and talk about their second pick. I do still really like Dax Hill here. I think Dax Hill makes a lot of sense. He's just another versatile guy who can play, you know, that safety overhang role. He can play in the slot. Like, he is a guy that makes a lot of sense here. But Andrew Booth fell to them in this one. He's a more, you know, dedicated outside corner. You have Rashad Fenton who can play the slot. I think, you know, Andrew Booth. Let's go ahead and lock it in. Best value on the board. And then again, I don't like making the same picks, but sometimes, you know, it's just too good to be true. If Tyler Linderbaum makes it to 31, the Bengals are taking him, bar none. Ours, I guess. So yeah, Tyler Linderbaum to the Bengals at 31. If he's there, it's happening. I'm sorry. All right. And then at number 32, what do we do with the Detroit Lions? Hearing more rumblings that they could be looking to take a quarterback, whether it be Corral or Howell. It could be a thing. Linebacker, always interesting. Last time we had them taking Leo Chenal. Jacoby Dean, Devin Lloyd are always guys who can sneak in. Christian Harris is a beast. I think he might actually end up being the best linebacker in this class. Don't at me. But I don't think there's any way Dax Hill gets out of the first. So we're gonna go ahead and take Dax Hill. They desperately need safety help. He can play either strong or free. He plays slot corner too. He's, I think, a fantastic prospect. So locking him up at 32, not a bad pick. Let's go BPA. And that isn't so. That's my mock draft 2.0. Let me know what you think. Again, this is the Steelers. Taking Malik Willis at 10. Just want to reiterate that this is the Jets pick. So yeah, don't you know, come at me sideways if you just skip to the end. This is the Steelers. This is the Jets. Your boy don't have $10 to pay for premium. So yeah, that's gonna do it for this one. Let me know what you think. I'll catch you guys in the next one. I'll try to get at least one more of these out before the draft. If not, you know, we're still, you know, a couple weeks out, so we got plenty of time. I want to get some, you know, more things going. I want to get like my favorite guys at every position type video going. I think that might be the next video. But let me know what you guys think. Catch you on the next one. Peace.